Hello, everybody, and welcome to Taking Control, the ADHD podcast on True Story FM. I'm Pete Wright, and I'm here with Nikki Kinzer.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Pete Wright.
Do you remember when we did our SMART Goals episode, Nikki?
I do remember, and it probably had to have been like 8 years ago. I swear it had to have been.
Years ago. It feels like years ago. And today we're throwing all of that to the curb.
Yes, we're going to do something different.
To the curb. It's time for something meatier.
Something new.
That's right. I'm very excited to talk about PACT Goals today. I read the article, and I'm very interested in our conversation today about PACT Goals and how they might work for ADHD. PACT DHD. Before we do that, okay, we are in the pledge drive, Nikki Kinzer.
Yes, we are.
What does that mean?
Well, it means that we just saw in the pre-show the cover art for Pete's new podcast called The Placeholder, and it is awesome.
It
is
Pete
so
as a
good.
sketch.
It's Pete as a sketch, and you summed up what this podcast is going to be in what, like 5 words or something?
10 words.
10 words?
10 words.
It's great.
Yep.
What is it?
Yes.
Placeholder what?
Placeholder. You want to know what the actual words are?
Well, it's placeholder, which is the title, but like what's the little like subtitle?
The
whatever.
The tagline it is a show about the tech we use while we're waiting for something better.
Just sit with that for a little bit.
I think that sums it up pretty well. I think that sums it up pretty well. I'm very excited about the show.
Yes.
Working on the trailer right now. It's going to come out in the next week, and then episode 1 before the end of the month. And hopefully that will entice you all if you are thinking about this show and what the ADHD podcast has been to you. The Placeholder will be a member-only podcast. You'll only be able to get it through your personal Patreon podcast feed. We're taking a real flyer on this. We hope that it means something to you, that it is of interest to you. We're excited about sharing it, but it won't be available anywhere in any of the other podcast directories. It's just for our members. And I plan on talking to members on the show. I plan on interviews. I plan on, lots of real internal cool stuff. And so I hope it's exciting to you. It's available to all members. But of course, we've got some other stuff coming up that we are talking about for the month of March to get you excited about the community, ADHD community. What else do we have going on?
Oh, we've got Coffee with Pete. We have Coaching with Nikki. And these things,
Hallelujah.
Yes, these 2 new benefits are going to be part of our next tier, our new tier in Patreon. So we've got what do we have? We have Deluxe, Supreme, and Platinum.
Platinum.
Yes. But every member for the month of March is going to get a sample of Coffee with Pete and Coaching with Nikki. So now is definitely the time to sign up so you can check those out and check out the trailer and everything.
What are you doing in Coaching with Nikki? Can you give a description of what that event is going to be like?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, of course I will. And so this is how I envision it. Envision. What is that word I'm looking for? Visualize.
Envision. Visualize, envision. You've done it all.
Okay,
You've got it all.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got this. Got this. Okay. So what I'm thinking, I'll just go with that, is we have themes, or at least we have somewhat connections between shows per month, right? Because when we decide, okay, this is what we're going to focus on in the month of March, this is what we want to focus on in April, we have something that kind of ties everything together. So my thought is that at the end of the month, we're going to have a coaching group with Nikki. I am going to actually start with a topic that's going to be in relation to what we've talked about on the show. So for March, my idea is that we've been talking a lot about lists and prioritizing and time and these goals that we're going to talk about today. And so I'm going to come up with something that is probably going to be around, I would say, ADHD time, and start the conversation with folks. And answer questions. I hope to have everybody chime in and support each other. But I really do want it to be a time for people to get some support around their ADHD and really, come away from it with maybe some tangible things to work on or to be thinking about.
And so the coffee with Pete, yeah, I'll be taking questions. I think I envision it more
Hmm.
as a workshop around technology and systems. And
Oh, I
so,
like that.
if you have ideas, if you want to, you want to run ideas by, you want to jump on, we'll do some screen sharing and look at each other's systems and look at ways we use the technology that we use to make our lives work better and more smoothly. That's the idea behind Coffee with Pete. There will be coffee, and if nobody has any technical things to talk about, I'll either bring one or we'll just jaw. I'm okay with that too. But the whole idea is like let's actually move our systems forward and play with the technology that'll help us do that. So I'm very excited about bringing a group together who can come and do this. We'll also create channels in the platinum category in Discord for those who decide to join that tier, and hopefully we'll have some good discussions in there.
Hmm.
Looking forward to it. Looking very much forward to it. Can I just add, speaking of Discord, thanks to member Jay Foster, who is a Discord grandpa in the community. He's fantastic. He had the suggestion yesterday to start up a new channel that I 100% relate to, which is the business channel. And it's for anybody who is in any sort of work environment as a team leader, a manager, a small business owner. Like if your ADHD is impacting the way you lead or manage your business or a part of the business, that's the channel for you. And I'm excited to have that channel spun up too. So that's a new thing. That's another new thing.
Yes.
We just opened that new channel for March. So,
Hmm.
new tier, platinum tier, Coffee with Pete, Coaching with Nikki, the placeholder podcast finally coming together, trailer coming out in March, episode 1 coming out in March. The last point is our goal. What are we trying to do? This is a pledge drive for a purpose, and the pledge drive, we've done the math, and we have figured out that in order for us to be able to do and sustain all of the things that we want to do, the new podcast, the time invested in the new coaching, and the Coffee with Pete, the work we're going to do with people in the new tier. It means we need to hit a certain number of members. And so if you have been considering joining the ADHD community, now is a great time to do it. Now would be the time to do it that would help us the most. If you care about the ADHD podcast and seeing the community thrive, this is the time. We need to hit over 250 current subscribers, and you can see it right on our Patreon page at patreon.com/the ADHD podcast. At any given time, you can go and see how many members we currently have in the community. Once we hit over 250, we'll be able to launch, release, and sustain all the new things we want to do as we continue to work to grow the community. And that is really our singular measure of success. So if you support the show and you appreciate what we do, please help us help you. That's the Jerry Maguire pitch, right? Help us help you. And also air dry, Jerry, air dry. I think that's it. Shall we talk about PACT Goals?
Yes, let's do it.
PACT Goals, Nikki Kinzer. Are we stacking goals? Is that the point? We're stacking goals. It's just goal upon goal upon goal. Our cup runneth over with goals.
Well, I got to tell you, have you ever heard of PACT Goals before I brought it up?
You brought it up some weeks ago, I think. You said, hey, this is a new thing. We're going to put it in the schedule. And that's when I kind of got invested in it. And my interest was piqued.
Yes.
I have to say.
Well, I have never heard of this either. And it's not exactly like it's brand new. It's just that I don't think it's talked about very often. And the inspiration of this, where I got the information about PACT Goals, was I was having dinner with a good friend of mine, and we were talking about business, and she she started saying something about PACT Goals. And I'm like, you mean SMART goals? No, PACT goals. Like, don't you know what that
I love
is?
it. PACT Goals,
come
dummy.
on. Yeah. I'm like, I have never heard of it. So, of course, at the dinner table, I'm like Googling it and we're
Yeah.
talking about it. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I love this. I love what this stands for. And this could be actually a better way of approaching our goals, for the ADHD brain and for any brain, because it just feels nicer than SMART goals. And I'm not saying SMART goals aren't nice. There's a place for them for sure.
Well, and so let's review just very quickly. Can we just review what SMART goals are in order to have a conversation about PACT goals? There are way too many acronyms in this conversation.
I know, right? And
so,
okay,
SMART goals are, it is an acronym. It stands for specifics, S, specific, M, measurable, A, attainable, R, relevant, and T, time-based. And figure it out, right? Sure, that's the mnemonic for remembering it, but that's what SMART goals stand for, and SMART goals are very popular.
They're very
People
popular.
Love thinking about SMART goals.
And there's a lot of great things about this, for sure.
Sure. Though, interestingly, for ADHD, it's always just sort of like, I haven't really put my finger on it, but I don't use SMART goals.
Right.
At all. Like, I don't
you
think
don't
about
have a poster,
goals that I
like,
want.
up on your
I don't have a poster.
wall.
I've never, it's never a thing that I've, for a long time, I had the GTD workflow poster that I connected with, right? Because I was using it. It was like an actionable thing. And SMART goals, I just never, I personally tried it. I tried to make all my goals with the little SMART, and I tried to make it work, and I never quite did it. And then I read this PACT Goals thing, and I thought, oh, this addresses why I was challenged.
What was missing
with SMART goals.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I think
is
so
that,
too.
I mean, is that kind of your relationship with it?
Yes. And that's why I thought, well, gosh, I think this is just not only nicer, but just more of an ADHD friendlier way of going about something that has maybe some less shame around it.
Yeah.
I
mean, you put it, it's nicer.
It's nicer.
And that's what we need. More kindness.
Yes, absolutely. So people are wondering, what is this? What is it? What does PACT mean? It is a goal setting technique, and it stands for P is purposeful, A is actionable, C is continuous, and T is trackable. So there's some similarities, for sure, but it is a little bit different. And I just want people to know that in the show notes, we are going to put an article that I read and that Pete read. And that's a lot of what I'm referencing is from this article, because I thought it was really well written. And so if you guys want to check that out a little bit more in detail, it will be there for sure.
And I just posted that link in the show notes for people who are, or in the live stream chat for people who are joining us for our live stream, another member benefit.
Yes,
there you go.
There you go.
Plug.
All right. So compared to other methods that focus on outcome, PACT goals focus on output. So by focusing on output, some people have found that PACT goals allow them to track progress towards achieving a goal and creating new habits. The PACT technique works especially well for long-term ambitious goals because they are focused on continuous growth.
Yeah. Could you break that down?
Yes.
Do you want me to drop a fat beat?
Yes, I do want to break that down, but I also want to give you a little bit of history in my work when it comes to the word goal.
Okay.
So this is
goal stands for good, objective, and life.
Really?
No, I totally made that up. Everything's an acronym. I'm just going with the flow.
Goal meant anything. Wow.
I cannot tell you how excited I am that I almost had you. I should have leaned in on that. I will regret that forever. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
You had me there for a second because I'm thinking, wow, what did I miss?
Objective and life.
That's good. That's really good. Okay, moving on.
Sorry.
Not my favorite description of good, whatever you said. And this actually came up in my accountability groups a few years ago. Because when in the accountability group, we started off as, okay, what's your goal for the week? And what people were coming back with is shame and guilt because they didn't accomplish their goal for the week. And so they don't want to talk about it because they didn't feel
Yeah.
good about it. And when we started to break down the word goal, what I learned and what I agree with is that it felt very like this is the beginning and this is the end. And if you don't get
It
to
does. It
the
feels
end,
totally binary. It's like a
yes,
score, right? It's like we
yes,
use goal when we actually make a touchdown or
uh, yeah,
soccer goal. Like you make a goal.
right, absolutely. And so
Yeah.
there's nothing in between. And so if you didn't get it done, and you can't check that box, it feels really bad. And
Yeah.
most goals aren't something that just is open and ended.
Right.
Right. And so what we did as a group is we said, okay, we're going to change the way that we describe this. And we changed it to focus. What is the focus for the week? This felt so much better. There was so much less shame. And it was more of an understanding that, this is always going to be a work in progress. And it's a habit that we're trying to build. And I think that's why I really resonated with PACT. All
Yeah.
right, going back to breaking PACT down. Purposeful. So a purposeful effort represents your goal's foundation, its meaning, and the passion that drives you toward achieving it. So this digs a little bit more into your values and the emotions behind how you feel
Mhm.
about what it is that you're trying to accomplish.
I love purposeful because of that language, the passion. I can see how, if you are setting up a goal of something you have to achieve for some external motivation, like work, like if you're trying to refine a goal, like a new measurable or new metric that you have to measure for your job that you're not excited about, coming up with something language that is passionate, that describes how you connect with it can be hard.
Hmm.
The flip side of that is that's huge opportunity because you get to reframe everything about your goal in language that connects with you. And that
Hmm.
I think is the objective. So I guess when I hear it, I can see easily how people could take a cynical perspective of this first point. And I want to just encourage you to think about it from the other side, that you have the opportunity when you're defining your goal to define it in a way that fuels you, that allows you to create something toward the same end, but in a way that makes sense to
Hmm.
you, to your
Hmm.
brain, to your heart.
Hmm. Well, and
How's
I,
that
I
hit you?
agree. I think that that's the biggest issue is that it has to mean something to you because if it doesn't, it's not ever going to happen.
Yeah,
You're not going to be able to make it a work in progress because it's going to be really hard to even get started.
right.
So I do think it's important to take a step back and really think about what this truly means for you. And is it something you truly want? Or is it something that you feel like you should want? Or somebody's pushing you into it? Those are all
Mhm,
very
mhm.
different
Well,
factors.
and like when you're running your own business or your own team or association, whatever, like you have a lot of choices, right?
Right.
I can I think this step is an interesting sort of flag gate, right? That says,
Hmm.
hey, if I can't come up with language that defines the purpose of this thing that I'm doing, maybe that should tell me that this isn't really a good thing for me to to work toward.
Right.
Like I need to find another way in to whatever this is because it's
Hmm.
not for me. I'm not
Hmm.
connecting to it.
Absolutely. All right. Actionable. Being actionable is about taking action today to avoid over planning for the future. This means making efforts to change the things within your reach that you can control instead of focusing on distant outcomes. Think of actionable as being similar to the adage, living in the now.
Living in the now. Yeah, I love this because it's I had a therapist a long time ago who said your power ends with your skin, right? It
Yes.
it ends with what you can touch. You can't influence things you can't touch. And obviously we can come up with lots of examples of things that I can change without touching them. But
Hmm.
but I like the metaphor, and I love this because it keeps me focused in my immediate sphere of influence when
Hmm.
I'm working towards something. I think that's really nice.
Well, and the next part of this that they talk about in the article, I think is so relevant to ADHDers. Of course, preparing for the future is essential, but there can be downfalls to over planning. Many of us overanalyze a situation, which can lead to inaction. That sounds very, very
Mhm.
familiar.
Mhm.
This analysis paralysis keeps us away from how some of us may learn best, which is practicing and trying something new.
I feel like you should have started that with Dear Pete. Because
Does this happen to you?
Yeah, does this happen to you? Dear Nikki, I never imagined I would write this letter. I feel like this choice paralysis, and you introduced me to a new term, FOBO.
Right.
FOBO.
Yes.
Fear of a better option.
Yes.
I have never heard of that.
I had not either.
Like Monday, 8 a.m. for me.
I know.
Wow.
I think
FOBO.
we might be I think we are going to be talking about it next week.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah.
Because I have some thoughts. So I'm going to just table that for a little bit, because this whole over-planning, over-analyzing, and not committing to a direction is really hard for me. I live in that strike zone constantly.
Well, and this is going to come up again in the continuous part of PACT. With the continuous pursuit of repeatable and straightforward routines, right? So we're taking some action all the time, a little bit every day. We can avoid choice paralysis when too many options keep you from immediately doing something actionable, otherwise known as analysis paralysis or FOBO, fear of a better option. This is the consequence of over-planning and over-analyzing a situation. This is the consequence of over-planning and over-analyzing a situation.
What is it about continuous? Like, what are you actually doing in the continuous stage when you're setting up a PACT goal? Like, what is it that you're doing that helps you beat FOBO?
I think the way that I take it is that it's an action that you can continue doing daily. So it's building the habit.
And this was the piece that I think we really want to bring out, which is this the experimentation part, right? That it goes back to what is actionable. When you think through the things that you're doing every day, and you are trying again and again through different iterations, for each attempt that you're doing, you're constantly revisiting your own process every day, instead of sitting down and thinking, oh, I'm going to try everything all at once, because what if I'm missing out on all of this stuff? What you're saying is, there's opportunity for me to change my system every day. I can make little micro changes to my system and to my process and try new stuff. That's experimentation, and that's very much a part of the continuity state in PACT. And she had this great quote that she teaches her students, like, once I know better, I do better, right? I don't think that was hers. I think that's,
it sounds like Oprah.
I think it was Bob Marley. And so, this high ideal of, through, as long as you don't stop moving, right? Just keep swimming. As long as you don't stop moving and keep experimenting, keep your eyes open to new ideas, then you'll always be learning how to do better next time. But this is the trick. You don't want to get into the state of making giant changes every single day, right? You don't want to be in an experimentation mode like Pete does. Please do as I say, not as I do, right? Like, you don't want to say, okay, I'm going to try a whole new system and go and eat all of the elephant today. You want to look at the little changes that you can make every day, little iterations, little new ideas that help you improve what you're doing, what you can touch right now. And that's what I really like about these two steps right together.
This article is encouraging us to try new things, try, practice, see what you can do, little things, like you said, and have that be a continuous effort. And what I think gets in the way of that is the FOBO. When you're so stuck in overthinking and researching, then you don't do anything. You're not doing any kind of action, and you're not doing anything that could even build a habit. So
exactly,
it did connect with me. So thank you for that.
Trackable.
So, this is just a different take on measurable from SMART goals. And this approach can impact your mental health and wellness. And oh boy, do we not need that? We need good
Mm.
impact on those things because it's based on effort and progress. It's not on that end result. It's not that deadline that you missed or didn't miss. And that's the part I think that with SMART goals that's really hard.
Well, and what I love about Trackable is that it implies you are the one taking action, right?
Right.
Measurable seems like any system can measure something, but metaphors matter, right? For especially for ADHD. And for me, Trackable implies I'm the one doing the work. It's my goal, it's my action, it's my habit every day. It is also me. I'm the one who's going to see the results and be able to track them. And that helps me personalize it, take authority and agency over what it is that I'm going to do. It also makes the goals more clear. I mean, she uses these examples of like study at least 2 hours for every 1 hour in class and complete all homework for every class on time. That's something that it sets up a very clear easy to internalize goal, and you know when you're hitting it because you're the one doing the work. You're the one checking the boxes. Run every day this year. That is a PACT goal in its simplest form. And it seems so, it seems like I can see how you're coming at this. If you come at this sideways and you think, oh, well, that sounds like a resolution, like a New Year's resolution. It kind of does until you go back and break down the PACT of it, and you realize I can internalize this because I can put a definition to it's purposeful. It's going to keep me healthy and my heart strong. It's going to keep my muscles, oxygenated. It's actionable. I'm the one who's going to be doing the work. I'm going to get out and get my running clothes on, and I'm going to hit the streets every day. It's continuous. It's daily. And it's trackable. I'll know when I've done it when I hit 365 at the end of the year. Like that's a useful and so simple way to approach this stuff.
Well, and something that I would want to add is I know for tracking, for me, it can sometimes be negative if I'm focusing just on the days that I didn't do something. And so one of the things that I would say to folks out there that are like that as well, like you maybe are a little fearful of tracking because of that, I would say what I do is change the way the tracking sheet looks. So it's not Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and you have to check each day. I would say you check every time you do something that you want to do so that at the end of the week, you can say, hey, I did that 2 times last week. That's a very different thing than saying I missed 5 days last week. So you can celebrate the 2 days and not, focus on the bad. So just another thought that you can tweak even how you track to work for how you think.
I just want to throw in how much I like the word PACT better than smart. Right?
I know, right?
There's something I get smart, like I understand it, but I love PACT because PACT implies the agreement, right? I'm making an agreement with myself.
That's right. I love that.
For a future state of success. Like I am buying into. It's not the thing that's smart. It's the agreement that I am a part of it. I am taking action. I have agency in this discussion. I really, really like that. And so, to say I connected with PACT goals over SMART goals, it just answers a lot for me. It answers a lot of questions. And so I'm pretty excited. So we do have a question in the chat room that I want to get to right now because I think it's really important, and it is a thing that also kind of sticks in my head, which is, okay, let's say we're taking our running every day for 365. Getting out to run is where the problem lies. The goal itself is great, but how do you apply motivation to a PACT goal? I have some thoughts. Do you have thoughts?
Oh, I have a lot of thoughts. Yeah. So motivation. All right. I think that motivation is a really hard word for ADHDers to wrap their heads around because you can have all of the wonderful intentions in the world and really want something, but it's so hard to get started. So the motivation isn't always what we need to look for. I mean, I think it's important that we go back to the purpose of the running.
Yes.
Yes, we need to figure out what it is that you're looking for, why you're doing this, what makes it important, how does this connect to your health? How is it going to make your life better? How is it going to impact other people? Right. So we definitely want to look at the purpose and revisit that, and maybe even have like a little reminder somewhere that you see every day of why you're doing what it is that you want to do. But then I think in a more practical strategy wise, you've got to think about, how can I get started? Not necessarily how am I going to motivate myself to decide to run, but how am I going to get started to run? And it goes back to these mini habits and tiny habits. That isn't it funny that there's two books, that one's called Mini Habits and the other one is Tiny Habits? It's
Yeah.
really basically the same thing. So
It's
anyway,
the same thing.
throwing
Yeah.
that out there. But what I think is awesome about that is I read Mini Habits, and I really resonated that if you want to exercise every day, you start with one push up. If
Hmm.
you want to run every day, you start with putting your shoes on, and you know, I don't know, run to the mailbox or something. Like, make it really small. Maybe it's just putting your shoes on for the day,
Hmm.
right? But
Hmm.
it's making it so small that you can get started and you can do it no matter what. And I remember we talked about mini habits a while ago when we reviewed the book. And I remember, I don't know if I said it in the podcast or maybe in the live stream, but I remember thinking, well, yeah, if you want to work out 30 minutes a day and you start with one push up, you can do a push up in a wedding dress, right? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
you can do that no matter what. And so I think it's also just figuring out what's the smallest point of entry to get you started
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
make
I
it
think so
fun.
too. Yeah. Yeah. I go back to that too. I feel like they're like my part of the reason I'm resonating with PACT, and time will tell, because PACT is a new thing, like
Right,
for me, the
right.
way I think about it, to kind of leave that metaphor in the back of my mind. But my sense is, when I think about the stuff that motivates me, it all comes back to how what sort of affinity I have to the objective. Like, how passionate am I about this thing?
Hmm.
I know where my motivation will suffer, and I also know that if I am able to frame my connection to whatever it is I'm trying to do in a way that really connects with my heart and my head at the same time, that I am more likely to start taking action toward those tiny habits that will lead toward that ultimate
Hmm.
outcome.
Hmm.
And that's one of the reasons I like about it, because it's focused not on the shame. It really is focused on your daily activity. And that daily activity can be just one teeny tiny little motion toward the end,
Absolutely.
right? It
Absolutely.
doesn't have to. I think, using an example of run every day this year is not a great example if you're not a runner. Right?
Exactly.
If you're
Yeah,
not a runner, but you want to be a runner, then just putting your shoes on in the morning is step one, 8 a.m. Monday morning. If
exactly.
you're already kind of a runner and you enjoy the experience of running, which I kind of do,
Hmm.
like that, it makes it much easier to make that goal, run every day for a year, something useful, because I can hyper focus when I'm running. If my knees aren't hurting, I can actually go to a brain space that is of some use to me,
Hmm.
right? It's
Hmm.
healthy and makes me feel good. Um,
You
but
know,
it's not a good example for everybody. If you can't even
no.
imagine running, then you can't imagine feeling passionate enough about something to set a goal for it.
No, and I think like for me, it was 30 minutes of exercise, and that's where the push up came from. So,
Yeah.
it's 30 minutes of exercise every day. How do I get to that one push up a day? All right, I can do
Yeah.
that. But something that just when you were talking about running, it reminded me. So, for all of our listeners who've listened to us, faithfully for a long, long time, do you remember the episode that I don't remember specifically which one it was, but we were talking about running and you were telling me about the zombie
Zombie Run.
Yes. And
Yeah.
every time I think of that, I just smile, and I'm thinking that's how you make running fun. You put on an app, you walk around, and then you hear the zombies coming and you run for your life.
That was exactly it. I don't even know if that game is still around, or that app was still around, but it was a health app, and you'd be listening to music or a podcast, and suddenly you'd turn a corner and there you'd hear in your headphones zombies coming out, and it would tell you, you've got to run to the next waypoint, and you
run
to get
fast
to the next thing. Yeah. So fun.
Anyway.
So
right.
I think that's really it. And I know it's hard. And I know one thing I do know is that hearing us talk about it on a podcast makes it sound easy. And I want to say for sure, it's not easy.
Oh, no.
All we're doing is searching for the right metaphor for some of you listening that you might be able to connect to that actually gives you some hope toward your goals. And if this isn't the one for you, please move along. Let's let's experiment in some new ways together. But we will post the source article in the show notes, so you can take a look for it yourself and see if it works for you. I'm excited about continuing to think about how the things I want to accomplish this year fit into the PACT mindset. I think it's working for a little bit for me. So there you have it.
There you go. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for downloading and listening to this show. Thank you for being a part of our March Pledge Drive, our march toward 250, the march to 250. And to the Placeholder podcast and to all the new stuff that we want to do in this year. Thank you for helping us to continue to make this a bigger part of our lives and of our livelihoods, and to be a part of this fantastic ADHD community. We're honored by being in your orbit. Thank you, everybody, for downloading and listening to this show. Thank you for your time and attention. If you have something to contribute to the conversation, head into the Show Talk channel. There's a thread live over there about this stuff. We'd love to hear what you have to say. And you can join us by becoming a supporting member at the deluxe level or better. On behalf of Nikki Kinzer, I'm Pete Wright. We'll see you back here next week on Taking Control, the ADHD podcast.